Destiny Enterprises and Productions.
Hi, I'm Monique Lynelle Gray. I was born in Hartford, Connecticut, October 4th, 1978. My father and mother, who are Harold Gray, Sr., and Diana Gray, had me when they were about 25, and my dad was going to Trinity University up there in Connecticut. I have an older brother and sister, and my sister was born in Philadelphia, and my brother was born in Connecticut like me. They're both older than I am. So I'm the youngest of three. I moved to Philadelphia at around 6, going on 7. So I started second grade in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 1985, where my grandmother on my dad's side had a house there, and we ended up moving back there, and my dad became an ordained minister. I went to Edward Gideon Elementary School in North Philadelphia. That was quite a difference from Connecticut to Philadelphia for me. I stayed there until I went to junior high school, and I was very active while in elementary school. I did charm and drama and dance, and I really enjoyed all of those things. Charm was more like modeling, and drama, we did a few plays, and dance, there was always an assembly every year, and sometimes we did outside venues. But also, we had a chance in my grade to write a letter to the mayor at the time, and our mayor was Mayor Good. So I won the letter to represent my grade, and I really found a passion for writing at that time. In junior high school, I went to Conwell Middle Magnet School. I had to take a test to get in there. I was a bright young lady. I ended up starting to play basketball in junior high school, and that was about 7th grade. I stayed in Philadelphia until about 9th grade. So I moved to Mount Airy, which is another part of Philadelphia. I ended up going to Abraham Lincoln High School, the same high school as Rocky, Sylvester Stallone. So my big brother went there also, and he was like the captain, or one of the captains of the football team, and I was dating his friend. So they were both on the football team together. So at the end of 8th grade, I started to date him, and later on we got married, but he was my boyfriend all throughout high school. And the thing is that I moved from Philadelphia back to Connecticut, but this time Bloomfield, in 9th grade. My dad became an interim pastor at a church in Connecticut, and this time my brother and my sister weren't with me, so that I wanted to become a cosmetologist, and I wanted to go to one of the vocational art schools in the city. I either wanted to go like to Dobbins or Bach or something like that, so I was going to transfer schools. I really was not happy about that. Me and my boyfriend had plans. We wanted to go to the prom, which we ended up doing because we stayed together, and we ended up writing letters to each other, like, almost every other day. And it was really, we had a tight knit relationship. So we ended up going to the prom. We were together since 1992, and we got married in 1995. He ended up going to the Marine Corps, and when he went to the Marine Corps, there was like a waiting list for housing on base, sort of like the end of my 11th grade year, going into my 12th grade year. But he was 3 years older than me, so he had already been in the military. He became a professional boxer during that time while we were together. So what happened in high school was that in my 12th grade year, I was in Hawaii where he was. I spent most of the school year there, and then he was about to get out of the Marine Corps, which was rather suddenly, wasn't part of our plan. But so I had to come back in the middle of a semester. I was in Castle High School, and my then husband told me, that he would have to get out of the Marine Corps. So that meant that I needed to figure out a way to finish high school. So I ended up coming back to Maryland where my parents were living, and I ended up going to Northwestern High School. They told me that I couldn't finish up the semester by coming in the middle towards the end of the semester. So I was told I had to go to summer school. I ended up graduating in summer school. So that was in 1996. And I was still 17, so that was great. But it was just later in the year. Instead of graduating in June, I graduated in August. But I thank God I made it through because I had never thought about going to summer school because I was always so bright. I never had to go. So, but I made it through, and I ended up like being the valedictorian of summer school, and and I introduced the speaker at the ceremony for the graduation. So the graduation took place at Roosevelt High School, but I attended Northwestern High School. So, yeah. I went to 4 different high schools, so it was kind of hard to keep friends from different states. It wasn't like I went to high schools all in the same state, but I got pretty cool with a few people everywhere I went. After high school, I wanted to go to cosmetology school. When life goes up and down and up, don't give up. I decided to go to Dudley Beauty College in Washington, D.C. And I ended up living in Hyattsville, Maryland at that time. Me and my husband were still together. I worked at Pizza Hut from like 5 to 6 days a week. And then I went to cosmetology school from like 8:30 to 3:30 in the afternoon. So it was like a lot on me. And I did that for almost a year. And then I got another job that was paying a little bit more as a hostess. And so I was still going to school. Then during that summer, I started working as a shampoo assistant on the weekends. So I had 2 jobs and I was in school. And I was starting to get burnt out. But I was determined and graduated anyway. In 1999, December 1999, I ended up finishing my cosmetology certificate, and I got licensed in 2000, the year after. So that was good. I ended up accomplishing my goal, and I didn't let anything stop me. Well, after hair school, once I completed it, I had a chance to go to Germany and do hair on an Air Force base. So in 2000, I went to Germany and I did hair there for about 3 months. There was a lady looking for Americans to come over to work in the beauty salon on base. So I had a chance to either stay for 3 months or stay for a whole year. And because I was still married at the time, I decided to come back after 3 months. But I really did enjoy my experience. I wish it was a different time, maybe in my life, where I didn't have a relationship that was, still hanging in the balance. But, at least I did take the opportunity to go. So, and after that, I was licensed in 2000 in Washington, D.C. with my cosmetology license. So that was great. When it feels like you're all alone, don't give up. When it feels like you're out the race, don't give up. When it feels like you're left behind, don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. Try again. And don't give up. You can win. Just don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. Just don't give up. When life goes up and down and up, don't give up. When life goes down and up and down, don't give up. When life goes up and down and up, don't give up. When life goes down. It's alright, it's alright. It's alright, it's alright. It's alright, it's okay. Hey, 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 whoa, hey, whoa, hey, whoa. And I decided to join the military because I figured I could get some money for school and then I could finish school and, it would be good benefits. And I just weighed my options. I talked to a recruiter and I ended up joining the Army Reserves. And so when I went to basic training, it was in South Carolina. I made a decision to go and I was just determined. I went to AIT in Fort Lee, Virginia. I ended up doing that and I got through it, thank God. And so I was in the Army, a cosmetologist in the Army. That was me. So some people sort of thought I wouldn't make it through, but I did. I went through it and, I came back in some good shape though. From basic. The AIT. So that took from like November to April. I had a miscarriage, my first miscarriage. I was 19 years old and that was really, I took it hard. I was only 8 weeks pregnant, but it was difficult to deal with. I wanted to go back to hair school, but it just seemed like it wasn't the right time. My husband at the time, his grandmother died the same week that I had a miscarriage, and I really didn't have the emotional support I needed. I ended up getting out of the reserves. A few months later, they told me I can go inactive. So I was with my unit for about 2 years, and then I went inactive ready reserve. And so from 97 to 99, I was in the Army Reserves, drilling with the unit and did my basic in AIT. I ended up re-enlisting in the military active duty in 2006. And I went active duty Army, and I ended up being stationed in Texas, and I had some good times there. I was with an air defense artillery unit, and I was a 92 Alpha, which is an automated logistical specialist, and it's like a job where you can be in the warehouse, or you can dispatch vehicles and be on the computer and you're doing admin stuff, putting in information for people in reference to their licenses. They're getting parts, you do inventory, all that kind of stuff. So that was my job in the military. I ended up deploying to South Korea. So that was my first deployment. At the time that I went back and re-enlisted, I was already divorced. So I ended up staying married for 9 years, and I divorced in 2004. By the time I re-enlisted, I was single again. Ended up getting pregnant while I was in South Korea, from a guy that was in another unit, and we got to know each other, and we were sort of talking through social media because he was stationed on another base than I was, and we started talking, we got to know each other, and the next thing you know, I found out I was pregnant. Because of my past, which I told him about, I had more than one miscarriage. I ended up having 3 miscarriages. And when I told him I was pregnant, he was like, everything's going to be okay. And then the next week he came down on orders saying he had to go to Afghanistan and he didn't think I should have a baby type stuff. And I was like, well, she's coming. I have to take responsibility for myself. Make it all the way to 21 and a half weeks, and they sent me back from South Korea. I found out one day, and then like 2 days later, I got a call that my dad died in 2008. And that was one of the hardest things to deal with, especially since I just found out I was pregnant and I'd already been high risk before, and I didn't know what I was going to do, being that I was always in South Korea. I had to go check on the baby. My father died suddenly. He thought he had the flu for about a month. They didn't give him any antibiotics or anything, and it was like he just thought it was that, and he got food poisoning, and that's what set it off because his immune system was already down. And he died within 24 hours. And the messed up thing is that he ended up really having pneumonia, and he had toxic blood from whatever poison was put, through the food that had him throwing up and going to the bathroom or whatever. It was just sounded horrible. Of course, I was in South Korea at the time, so I wasn't there to witness everything. So I had to deal with it and process it, and it was really hard. Before my dad passed, I sent him an email, and it was about things to do with some things that I held on to as a teenager in reference to the move that we made from Philadelphia back to Connecticut. And I was feeling a little resentment about the fact that I had a terrible marriage. The thing is that I really loved my dad, and he was a minister. He was a great guy. He really loved my mom. They stayed married from the time that I was born to the time that he died. But I was trying to understand why certain things happened the way they did, and I felt the need to talk to him about it, and I had to deal with it because for a long time I was angry with him for choosing to make me feel isolated almost. But that wasn't his purpose of doing it. It just made me feel isolated because my sister and my brother weren't there, and I was just trying to make friends and be regular in high school, and I had to be uprooted, and he was going to help these people that didn't even care about him or us. And I just was like, why do we have to deal with this? And I'm glad I said what I said, because I wouldn't have got his last letter to me had I not said something. He sent me back an email, and he told me how much he loved me, and that one day that I would find the guy that would love me just right, the guy that would be there for me. He wanted me, like to find my purpose and to have a great life, and that God was going to do things in my life. I should keep following him. And I was raised to love God and to have faith. They made me come back over there, even though we had rare detachment, which was in Texas. And it really didn't make sense to me because none of the other pregnant young ladies had to be in Korea. And I got my ultrasounds and everything, and the baby was fine. I had to go to the hospital, so I was in the hospital for about 3-4 days before they released me to make sure that my hormone levels were growing. And the baby was fine. So what I had to do was come to the doctors once I got to Maryland, and I ended up getting checked out and everything. They said the baby's fine, you're just having a little bleeding while you're pregnant. And so I was told by my first line leader at the time that I was going to be considered AWOL if I didn't come back. My first sergeant wasn't available. My company commander was on leave at the same time, and they said if I didn't come back to Korea, I would be considered AWOL. I wish right now that I was disobedient to what she said and that I went to Texas to report because it was too much on me. I was high risk. I was in and out of the hospital. I was on bed rest. Once I ended up getting back to South Korea, I started bleeding at different times, and I just thought any day I was going to lose my child. But I got on bed rest and I started feeling so much better. And then I ended up getting to 16, 17 weeks into my pregnancy, and I found out the sex of my baby, and it was a little girl. So I came up with what her name was going to be, and I said, she's going to be Miracle Lynea. That's going to be her name. Because she made it this far, I know she's something special. But when I was in the hospital before I went to my dad's funeral, my baby's father said that he texted me while I was in the hospital and told me, I don't think you should have it. We're not ready. About 21 and a half weeks, and they gave me a plane ticket to leave to go back to Texas because I couldn't stay there any longer. Being pregnant, I was showing, and it was like a hazard being there. So they sent me back, but my blood pressure was really, really high, and they said I was hypertensive. So once I got back to Texas to go get checked out, it was like Easter weekend. It was April 2009. I was so uncomfortable sitting there for 14 hours on a plane. I went from Korea to Japan, and from Japan to Texas, and I was supposed to go back to the doctor after like the 4-day so I could, get an appointment. But usually on a military base during the holidays, it's a 4-day weekend. So I was like, I'll go back this week. Hopefully, I wasn't thinking anything was going to happen in 4 days. But here comes Monday, and I get up from a nap, and I go bite myself, and here's blood. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, no. What's going on? So I called 911, and I had waited on the ambulance to come get me. I still was able to walk, but I got to the ambulance, and I didn't know what the heck was going on. I didn't know what to think. I got to the hospital. They said let us do an exam to see what's going on. And the lady went to go check me, and she said, ma'am, part of the baby sac is inside of your birth canal. And I was like, what? She said that she had to check it for amniotic fluid because that would mean that the sac was ruptured. I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone. Then she came back and told me it was amniotic fluid in my birth canal and that there would be nothing else that we could do, that I would probably deliver within the next 24 hours. And I was just like, what? I was floored. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know how to feel. I just was like, this can't be happening to me. And they brought in a neonatal nurse and doctor to talk to me. And I was just like, I immediately started crying. And I just was like, what is going on? And are you going to be able to help my baby? And why, you know, can't you sew me up or something? I just was thinking of anything that I could. And the doctor told me that because I was only 21 and a half weeks, that they didn't have to resuscitate my daughter if she stopped breathing, and that it would be better for me to let her die of natural causes than for them to stick all these tubes in her little body. And I just was like, what do you mean? Why can't you help her? I really didn't believe that's what was the verdict. Like, I didn't believe that's what was happening. So I told him, I asked him, could you please come back and see my child when she is born, so that just in case there's a chance for her to make it, that you'll be here to give her everything she needs. And they said, like, they weren't making any promises because they said she wouldn't be fully developed, and that she wouldn't come out crying if she did come out alive at all. My baby ended up being born on April 14th, 2009. She lived for 3 hours and 16 minutes. And I still named her Miracle Lynea because that's the name that I wanted to give her, because none of my other children had made it that far. And so I just knew that she was special. So I gave birth to her, and she came out, she didn't cry. And she was 1 pound, and she was 12 inches long. And she had the strongest heartbeat when she came out, kicking, and she kept kicking the nurse so much that the nurse was like, you know, your child keeps kicking me. And I was thinking, so you should give her oxygen. Like, what would you do? You fighting for your life, and I don't know what to do. They said they're gonna give me time to bond with my child and let her go naturally, because some of the tubes would be too big for her, and then I might have to choose to get her all the life support. Unless she was 23 weeks, they have a right to say it. Like, to say so. Like, they have a right to say whether they'll resuscitate her or not. They don't give the parent a choice. I was devastated. I just felt like my whole heart jumped out of my whole body. And she passed away the same day, April 14, 2009. My child's name was Miracle Lynea Gray. I gave her my last name because her father wasn't present, and I was able to give her my veterans plot, and so she's buried in Texas right now. And I'll always love her, and on her gravestone it says that she's gone but not forgotten. That's exactly what I feel about her. Is that no matter how long she's been gone, she will be 7, going on 8 this year. And no matter how many years go by or days go by, I mean, the load gets lighter because I really went through it. Once she passed, I really went through a depression, and I was really down, and I thought I was going to die next. I just didn't know what was going to happen, but God kept me, and that was really hard to have to bury her. But you know, there was an event in October, and it was for women and families who have lost a child. And October is the Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. Going to make it, but she ended up being born and early, and she lived for 3 hours and 16 minutes. And I still ended up keeping the name Miracle. I named her Miracle Lynea because she still came out alive, and she was kicking, and her heartbeat was strong. And I ended up, they said, well, we're just going to give you time to follow your child, and instead of putting all these tubes in her. I really didn't want that. I wanted them to help her, but what happened was when they told me that her heartbeat was still strong and everything, so I asked to check when you come in and dedicate my child to God. I know that my child is in heavenly places right now, and what I do want to leave with you is that you can have hope, and that God can heal your heart through these things, and it does take time, and I've gotten stronger as time has gone on, but she was still a blessing, and I never loved anyone like I loved her. And I know that all of you that have lost children or have lost loved ones, that love doesn't go away, so they'll still be with you. And I want to encourage you to keep going on and celebrate the life that is here, and celebrate the life of the children that you lost, because they're always going to be a part of you. Thank you so much. My name is Monique, and I just hope that all of you have the peace of God. Thank you. What I want people to know is that during October, you can remember those families that have dealt with these type of losses, but at the same time, you want to be sensitive to people's feelings, because everybody hasn't gone through the same things, and it's like a light bulb goes off once you go through it. But to lose a child is very devastating to people, especially that want to have children. And I had to take responsibility for me getting pregnant and everything. And regardless of the situation, whether you're married or not, you're making a choice. And, you know, abortion is not a choice for me, because I don't think it's right to just get pregnant and then abort your child. But what pregnancy and infant loss awareness is about is being sensitive to these families who have actually lost a child. And there's different events that they're holding now. People are becoming more aware, and it's a very sensitive subject. I will miss. It's a great thing to be able to have something out there like that, because when I initially went through this situation, it was in 2009. So I mean, there were things out there I just didn't know about them, and I was reaching out to try to get a support group or something to help me, but it was slim to none. I just went to the chaplain on base and was able to have prayer, which was helpful, but I wanted some kind of help outside of that, some counseling or something. And later on, when I got out of the military, I was able to find a place called Compassionate Friends, and it's a group of women that have lost children, and sometimes they bring other family members, but it's specifically around that. So it deals with people who have had their children shot, or they lost their infants like I did, or anything could have happened to their child, leukemia. Some people have had their children get hit by cars, and all kinds of devastating things have happened to different people. But it was a group where we all had this one thing in common. And although it's a sad thing, we were able to speak to each other in reference to it, understanding where each one was coming from. On another note, this event that took place in October that I went to was down at the Washington Hospital. I mean, I'm thankful that I'm still here, and God has given me hope that I can still have children. And I hope that I don't have to wait till I'm like Sarah's age in the Bible, Lord, please. But I know that if God can do it for someone that was 89 or 90 years old, that He can do it for me. So whatever God has for me, that's what I would like. And my heart goes out to other people and other families that have experienced these losses. And I will always love my child. And she will always be my baby girl. No matter if I have other children or not, she was something special to me. And that's why I didn't change her name. I got to 16 weeks, and once I named her, I was like, this child made it past 16 weeks. Being that I had a miscarriage at 8 weeks and a miscarriage at 4 weeks, and now she made it all the way this far, I was like, oh, she's a miracle. That's what I wanted to call her. And the reason why I did not change her name is because they said they counted her out. They said she wasn't going to live. They said she wasn't going to come out alive. She might not come out breathing. She might not come out with a heartbeat. She might be dead on arrival. But it was not so. My child lived 3 hours and 16 minutes. And that said something to me. And it was so special that she came into this world. And I made sure that I asked the chaplain to come in, the minister to come in and do a baby dedication and bless my child, so that I would know that she would go and be back with the Lord and be in heavenly places and be at peace, and that she would never be harmed or hurt or anything like that. And I just wanted to take out the time to say something in reference to her, because I still love her, and I would love any child that I have moving forward. But I was able to send her off correctly, and she's buried in Texas now. And She just is a special little lady. Although it was a lot, I still was able to get an honorable discharge from the Army. This balloon I'm going to send up in the air for my daughter, Miracle Lynea Gray. And she was born April 14th, 2009. And today is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month. And it's the day that is a day of remembrance. So I'm going to send the balloon up in remembrance of my baby Miracle. That she was special and she'll always be remembered in my life. I decided to go to finish my bachelor's degree because I had gotten my associate's degree while I was in. So while I was stationed in South Korea, I finished my last class in December 2008. And then I was able to walk in the graduation once I came back to the States. So that was another experience I had, and had it not been for her, I might not have been able to walk in that graduation. So that was a blessing. After everything happened with my daughter, I enrolled in school and I was able to then go ahead on to Temple University. And I had family still up there in Pennsylvania, so I decided, let me try to go back that way. So I went to Temple University, and it was hard as heck because I was initially a psychology major, and I was grieving so hard that it was hard to really retain everything I needed to, and it was really difficult for me for quite a while. And I went full time. I thank God that I did have the post 9/11 GI Bill because it allowed me to be able to take classes full time and not have to work and be able to still pay for my rent and my car note and stuff like that. So it was actually a blessing, and I ended up graduating in 2012 with my bachelor's from Temple University, and it was in strategic communications with a concentration in public relations. Hey, well, I'm here at Temple University, and of course I graduated in 2012. Behind me is a statue of Russell Conwell, which I also went to the Middle Magnet School in Kensington. But Temple University is right here in North Philadelphia. But that was not easy because yet again, something else happened. So not only my dad passed and then my child passed, but then I found out my mother had stage 4 cancer in 2011. I actually was in 2 different schools. I was going to Temple University, but I was also going to Empire Beauty School for my cosmetology instructor's certificate. So I was finishing that in February 2011, and I still had the whole semester to go. My mom was sick. My brother ended up getting married that year, and he lives all the way on the West Coast. So it was so much going on. And I was traveling from Maryland back to Pennsylvania to go to school because Temple is in Philadelphia. I was devastated. I was going to 2 schools, and here it is, my mom was in Maryland, which is 2.5, 3 hours away from Philadelphia, and now she was sick. And because I hadn't been there, and every time I would talk to her on the phone, she would say she had appointments and she was going to the doctor. She wasn't feeling good. She kept telling me not to come over, and every time I was trying to see her, she would be like, no, I'm not feeling good, so you can go ahead, or I don't feel like coming, I don't feel like entertaining. I think she knew something was going on, but it was so sad because she was already at stage 4. So it was almost like she was at the end. And she had to decide whether she was going to go to hospice or if she was going to try chemotherapy, because she had a sarcoma, which is a tumor. And the tumor grew from like a size of maybe a kiwi or a golf ball, and it grew to the size of maybe a volleyball or basketball, like on her leg. And she lost so much weight in a rapid amount of time. Like most people, most times, if you're a little overweight, you want to lose some weight. You can lose, you can lose 50 pounds and feel great, but she was trying to lose weight. So initially it didn't give her alarm, but then it was like 100 something pounds, and it was in a very short amount of time. So when I saw my mom, I almost didn't recognize her, and it was horrible. Like she looked emaciated, and it was so sad. And I knew I was losing my mother, and I was like, not this on top of everything else. So, my mom ended up trying chemotherapy, and she said it felt like it was killing her, and that was because it had already spread. The sarcoma spread to her lungs. The cancer spread from the tumor to her lungs. So she ended up dying the day after Mother's Day. And she ultimately had a sarcoma and lung cancer. And she was never a smoker, so it had nothing to do with that. That's a stereotype and a misconception that people have to be smoking to get lung cancer, but it can spread to your lungs. And she said it felt like it was rocks in her throat, and it was hard for her to swallow her medicine. So we, as her children, had to make a hard decision to put her into hospice care. And well, she decided on her own, really, to stop the chemotherapy and go with hospice. But at the latter part of her life, there was a place it's not a hospital, but it's like a hospital. It is for hospice, and they don't always have beds open. But my mom wasn't swallowing her medicine, and I was trying to figure out how I could transfer schools and be able to come down there to be able to help her more, because I was literally traveling from Maryland to Pennsylvania, and I would be driving on 95 early in the morning to get to my class, and trying to park and run to my class because I had my suitcases in the trunk and I needed to go visit with my mom. So when other people weren't there, I would try to come while they weren't there, so that I know that she had somebody with her when I wasn't there. so that I could be with her. And it was really just a difficult situation once again. But by putting her into this place that was a hospice care place, instead of people having to come out to her and they would only have a few, hours with her and then leave, she was able to get round the clock medicine and care, because I was really concerned she was in agonizing pain, and I really didn't want to see her like that. So they were able to give her the medication that she needed for her not to hurt anymore. And so I was able to come there, and by me saying, let's put her in this place, it was around Mother's Day. Her mother and her sisters were able to come down there, and a minister friend of her and my father's, they were able to come by with their family and visit her before she passed. She was able to speak to my brother, and he's all the way out in California. And I think that gave her a sense of love, and to know that she wasn't dying alone, and that she was loved while she lived. And so although that was difficult, I know my mother and my father were saved, and I dedicated my child to God, the Lord God over everything. And so I know that they're all in heavenly places and they'll be okay. But it's been a process. It's been a process, because seeing people that you love pass away, and it's things that you can't even do to stop it. It puts you in a hopeless type feeling. But I found hope in God, and I know that He still loves me, and I'm here for a reason. I don't want to sound negative about their deaths, because they lived their lives, except for my child. And she ended up passing the day after Mother's Day, 2011. I'm glad that my mother was able to have me and my sister come there. And when they saw that she was breathing less, and they knew that she was about to go, we were able to come to the place, and she didn't have to die alone. So I was able to go ahead and graduate from Temple University in 2012. And then I also was able to get my master's degree from Full Sail University, which is an entertainment school, and my major was entertainment business. So that was great. In 2012, I came out with my first book entitled My Journey at 30. Hello, everyone. My name is Monique Lynelle, and I'm the author of the new upcoming book, My Journey at 30. Well, my book is about my journey from the age 30 to 31. The whole year, I journaled and I wrote in my journal every day for a whole year. and was able to compile things and the experiences I had to make a book. The reason why I wanted to write this book is because I knew that something was going to happen during this year. I wasn't sure what, but I always hear people talk about, when they're turning 30 and what is going to happen and how things are going to change and how their outlook might be different than years prior. But I decided when I was 29, and I said I'm going to do this, and I started the day of my birthday, which is October 4th. I got through the book, but it was so raw and uncut, and it's like a reality show, but just in a book. And sometimes it was hard to read it after I wrote it, but sometimes it was therapeutic because I was able to vent in a way. And so I've matured so much more now than I was when I wrote the book, because that was in 2008 to 2009. And so you'll see differences between my first book and my third book. So my first book was My Journey at 30. My second book was A Teen's Guide to Succeed in High School. By November 2012, I wrote a book for teenagers, and because I was seeing things around the city, and kids were acting up, they had to get a curfew in Philadelphia. The kids were doing flash mobs and beating up people and stuff, and I just felt like, if you're not part of the solution, then you might as well be part of the problem. And so I said, well, if I was able to talk to a teenager that's going through some of these things, what would I tell them? Or what would I tell someone that's a teen if I was able to speak to them on a broader spectrum? And so I took that chance to almost write a letter to them, and how to it's a teen's guide to succeed in high school is what it's called. And I have an account for each year, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. And it's a little section in there for right before you go to high school. So it talks about goals. It talks about setting goals, long-term and short-term goals. And it talks about bullying. It touches on drugs. It talks slightly about sex and valuing yourself. And it also talks about whether you want to do a trade, or whether you want to go to the military, or whether you want to go to college, and deciding what you want to do, and then choosing your path to get there from there. So by knowing where you want to go, by knowing what you want to be and what you want to do, then it's easier to say, okay, I want to go to this type of school, or I want to go to the military and get school paid for. You have to look at different situations and scenarios that are in your home. So that's what that book touches. And my third book is Blessed in the Midst of the Storm. That book, the last book, Blessed in the Midst of the Storm, is almost 60 pages. Now, My Journey at 30 is about 365 pages. And it went from day to day. And it was a daily account of what was going on at that time in my life. And so some of the months, if you were able to get through the book, they read as the days go by, but I have monthly reflections that look back on the month, and I wrote those later. And so you see some growth in those reflections, but with Blessed in the Midst of the Storm, you definitely see a difference. I'm looking at things from God's perspective and how to deal with different issues, some of them that I already named, how to deal with them moving forward in your life, and how to not stay stagnant and be held back from becoming what you're supposed to become and living in your purpose in your life, not allowing these things to deter you. I'm thanking God for my experiences now, as opposed to looking at them as a fight where I lost. I look at it like a battle that I'm continuing, and I'm winning now because I have the Lord on my side. In 2006, I dealt with a guy that I had been dealing with for 2 years, because I got divorced in 2004, and I was dealing with this guy for about 2 years, and this was after, I got divorced, and we had been dealing with each other for all that time, and finally one time I'm telling him no to having a sexual encounter, and he didn't want to take no for an answer, I guess because I got him used to being able to be with me in that manner, and he didn't want to take no for an answer. And he also, he gave me some kind of date rape drug or whatever you want to call it, and I felt totally out of it, like I was loopy, like out of it, and it was horrible. But during that time, I feel like I was out of the will of God for my life, and I still feel like God kept me, because it could have been way worse. I knew this person. He could have hurt me for real, but he wasn't. It was like he was being cunning and sly, and he said something to me, and it was like I had a clarity moment, because it was totally foggy what was going on. So it was like he said they like it when I get rough with you. And I don't know if it was the drugs talking with him, or, he could have had demonic possession. Anything could have been going on. I don't know. But at the end of the day, he hurt me, and it made me feel so horrible. And I was just like, what is going on here? Now, granted, I had dealt with this guy, so I was out of my own character in my life, because I dealt with going through a divorce, and I was doing things with him that I'd never done with anybody else. But they weren't good things. So I smoked weed with him, and I drank some stuff with him, but it was not, I've never drunk a lot, but I did entertain that. So when people, are talking about marijuana, yeah, it could be good for some medicinal purposes, but it's a gateway drug, and it'll open you up to other things. And sometimes that leads to somebody being able to take advantage of you in another way, because then you might not be as alert to see them slip a Molly or ecstasy in your drink, and then you're feeling more than what weed or marijuana would make you feel like, and you know that it's a difference because you're totally you totally don't remember things, and it's like really a weird feeling. So I had to deal with that, and I didn't want to go to the police because I wasn't sure how things were going to go, being that I was drugged. And I know there's other women out here that have gone through this type of thing, and it's hard sometimes to talk to the authorities because they look down upon women, and it's like they sometimes pick you apart and make you feel like you're nothing, and you're right, this happened to you, yeah, whatever. And unless you've gone to the hospital and they find forced entry and all kinds of cuts and bruises on you, then they act like this didn't really happen to you. It's so many women that feel ashamed, and some even younger teenagers have been molested and so on and so forth, and they feel like they can't go to authorities. But I'm going to say that you should go as soon as possible, and you should tell somebody that you care about that will help you through the process, because I wouldn't wish that on anybody, but it's not always some random serial killer that is the person that's raping people, but sometimes it's somebody that that you trust, and they don't want to take no for an answer. But no still does mean no, even in 2017. And somebody should respect that, even in marriages. If the answer is no for now, then it means no for now. It doesn't mean no forever. And you shouldn't try to force somebody you care about to do sexual acts for you when they're telling you no, not right now, or no, period. It's a respect factor. And after that, I felt so dirty, and I felt like people just treated me so horribly since that time. Like, it was just like people don't listen, they don't have respect. It's like the whole world knows what happened, and it might not be that the whole world knows it, but that's how I felt right after. And I'm sure other females have felt that same way, and even men that have gotten in that situation where they've been raped or violated, or somebody drugged something, and it's other men that take advantage of men too. At the end of the day, this happened, and I went to the doctor and I told them I feel dirty. Something went down, and give me whatever you have that can clear and clean me all the way up, because I don't know what could have, what could be there or something. I just I didn't know how do you make yourself clean after that when you feel dirty like that. No matter how much you wash, you feel like something dirty has happened to you. And so by me getting this medicine, I don't know if it was penicillin or some kind of antibiotic, I got extremely sick from it. And I was like going to the bathroom. I had colitis, and I didn't know what colitis was at the time, but I found out. And I couldn't stay in school. I would be in school for 5 minutes and then have to run to the bathroom. And so I couldn't work at the time. I had to stop working. I had to stop going to school. And I was like in the bed almost every day or running to the bathroom. I literally fainted in the bathroom one time while on the toilet. Like, I fainted and fell on the floor. And I didn't want to tell anybody. I was so embarrassed about everything that happened. But I did share with my parents and my sister what went down. I didn't get the reaction that I thought I would get. And I just want to say that whoever out there has a child or has a loved one and they come to you and confide in you in reference to this type of thing happening, whether it be molestation or sexual assault or a violent rape, you should take a listen to it. And if you aren't equipped to help them, then to bring them to someone that does. Sometimes people need to undergo counseling, and it really takes a long time for some people to get over it, especially if they were a child that was molested. But I'm here to say that I'm still here and I'm standing strong, and I'm not allowing that person to have any power over me. So I'm sitting here talking to you and I'm telling you that while you think you're doing all kinds of things that because you're grown and you can do what you want, you have to understand that there's repercussions to things, there's consequences to things, and you have to value yourself and your decisions. And don't give your pearls to swine, because it's going to come back void. Which means it's not going to bring you anything. You're going to feel empty, and you might not be getting raped or molested, but you're giving yourself to people that don't care about you, don't really care about your well-being, and they don't care if you're going to be okay. But that guy ended up apologizing to me for how he made me feel and what he did. And, I appreciate that. But at the time, I still had to get through it and go through it. And at the end of the day, God kept me. And I haven't smoked weed or marijuana since then. I do not drink. And that's not even what it was about. It was something else that someone took advantage of me with that I trusted. But I don't even want to give into the appearance of evil and not putting myself in those predicaments or positions. So to God be the glory in reference to that, because I've dealt with it and I've moved forward, and I'm not holding a grudge to that person. I really do think he was sorry for what he did, but he had to realize that it really did hurt me. And, we might not ever be the same as we were before that time, but I had to forgive him for me, not for him. And that's what people need to understand. Forgiving somebody is not all about them. It's about you. And you have to be able to take your power back. I don't give my power over to that person any longer. And that's what rape is about. That's what sexual assault is about. That's what these molestation things are about, is somebody having power over you. But I don't give it to them. So with that said, I forgave him. And that's it. Let it go. I have to grow, and I want to be the virtuous woman, the good woman I can be for another man that will love me just right. I don't want anything that's supposed to be for somebody else. I really desire to have what God has for me.
Untitled Dynamic Destiny Enterprises and Productions. Dynamic Destiny Enterprises and Productions.
It's Monique, Lynelle. I'm so thankful to be moving forward. And even though I've felt knocked down by life so many times and I've had things fail, I know that God is eternal and He never fails. And regardless of what is happening, I'm here for a reason. Later in 2012, I released my first single, which was called Learning Me. I also wrote all of my songs on that album. I ended up releasing it in March of 2013, and it's called Love of the Music. God, my creator, didn't create mess, but instead He made me fearfully and wonderfully. And that's just like one of my songs. It's called Learning Me. And I wrote that song back in 2007, and then I finally recorded it. That was the first single I ever recorded, was in 2012. And the song says, learning me, knowing me, liking me, and loving me. And that's the way it should be. And the song is basically about having self-esteem. The song is telling you to listen to yourself, that you should learn about yourself, know yourself. Then somebody else can't tell you who you are if you know who you are. And then it's about liking you, looking at your strengths and your weaknesses and saying, this is me with my flaws. If I can accept them, then someone else can too. And when you love yourself, you'll make better decisions in your life, because you won't want to treat yourself in a destructive way. Hello everyone, this is Monique Lynelle, and I'm about to perform my song Learning Me. It doesn't mean you have to run in the corner and be afraid to do anything, because that's not what He made us to be. That's not what He told us to do either. So at the end of the day, Learning Me is one of those type of songs that speaks to a person having self-esteem, not speaking to conceit, because anyone can be haughty and on their own high horse, but pride comes before the fall. It's different than being confident, because being conceited and being confident are two different things. But being confident in knowing who your maker is, where did you come from, why are you here? Finding your purpose and loving yourself, that can make you walk with your head up high, because you know you deserve respect, and you are loved by the Most High. And it's like I found a new love. I was writing and singing at home for a long time, and I started writing songs in 2007, and now here it is 5 years later, and I finally just said, you know what, I'm going to the studio. You know what, I'm gonna put my songs on wax, and I just love it. And every single time I sing, I just feel more alive. So sometimes our behavior on the outside is from what we're feeling on the inside. And whether it be a void that we're trying to fill, or whether we feel badly, you know, it starts to manifest on the outside. So if you don't love yourself, it's hard for you to love someone else. And then it's hard for you to know when someone's loving you correctly if you don't know yourself. So if you want to know more about you, you should find out more about God, because God created us. So if He created us fearfully and wonderfully, what does that mean? Find out what that means.
You grabbed me by the hand, told me how to stand, though I'm human. You showed me real love when I was down, thought I was out. You comforted me with agape love. Even lately, when things are iffy, I can dig deep, 'cause you made me complete. Testing my faith, show me your strength, carry me through. You know how you do.
Yeah.
You showed me real love, so I wanna love you the way you love me. Yes, with unconditional love, intentionally for eternity. With unconditional love, I wanna love you the way you love me. With unconditional love, intentionally for eternity. With unconditional love, I lifted my hands to the heavens, showed you my heart, that was the start. You accepted me, showed me the way, you carried me through till I knew what to do. Now here I am, open to your will. I'll follow your lead, you hear my plea.
Yeah.
I give you my soul, you made me whole.
Yeah.
You warm my heart when I am cold. So
When I was about 16 years old, I started doing poetry. Writing songs and poetry is a lot alike because there's a rhythm to it, and it just is one of those things that God has given me a gift in doing, and I want to continue doing that. And I just released an EP here in 2016. It's called Get Lifted Up. So through my songs, you can hear some of my stories, and I've changed from just doing R&B or hip-hop R&B to doing contemporary gospel, because that's where God has led me. And you know, I'm trusting in the Lord with all my heart and leaning not to my own understanding, but in all my ways acknowledging Him, so that He will direct my paths. And He's directed me to share my heart with people, and by doing that, you know, what's in your heart is going to come out your mouth sooner or later. And getting closer to God, you can't just sit on it for too long. It's going to start coming out of your mouth. The more scriptures you learn, the more things you learn about how great God is, it's going to come through your mouth. Sooner or later, you're going to say things that reflect what you're taking in. So that's why you have to be careful about the company you keep, you know. So if you see me out and I'm alone, you know I'm in good company because God's always with me. So that's something I've had to learn. You know, I'm not afraid to walk alone because if I were to be like an animal, I would be like a tiger or like an eagle, and eagles soar, and you don't usually see them flocking with chickens. So it's not that I'm better than somebody else. It's just that I have a different calling. And it's not that I can't walk with you or talk with you or lift you up and whatever you have to do, but I shouldn't have to dumb down myself for somebody else to feel okay. To have fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. You should reverence and respect the Lord, and that's how He made us. So that means you should reverence and respect your body, yourself, and other people. Like He is the way, the truth, the life. He is the way, the truth, the life. Nobody comes to the Father but by Him. Get it? Talking about Jesus. Let me tell you 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 about Jesus. Monique, Lynelle, y'all. I'm about to do this for Jesus, y'all. Get lifted up, 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 lift Jesus up. The truth is the devil ain't give me nothing. The word of God always gives me something. I know the world really don't love me. I keep making it cause God loves me. I ain't sell my soul just cause I was told. Cause I have faith, don't take no mess. Trying to get blessed and be refreshed. And lift Jesus up. Get lifted up, 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 get lifted up. Get lifted up, get lifted up, get lifted up, get lifted up, lift Jesus up. I can't waste time, still on my grind, not living bitter, not living blind. My parents just raised me right, but as a PK I got a whole nother fight. Demons trying to get me, witches trying to vex me, liars talking about me, haters throwing shade. The devil is a liar, God is the truth. I'm full of fire cause of God's power. I ain't giving up on my creator and turning it to Darth Vader. I have too many things to do. I have too many gifts to use. God will never leave me, nor will He forsake me. Jesus saved my soul, then He made me whole.
The day today. The day today.
Well, it's talking about a day-to-day struggle, but also how God can help you through that struggle and how we can make it through. Everybody has different struggles that they have to deal with, whether it's money, whether it's a place to stay, whether it's fights with their family. But, you know, we can all make it through it, and if we use our faith, it'll work out. I wanted to put this song out a while ago, but I held back, and now I wanted to do a push for it because I think in this time in our world, a lot of people are going through struggles, and they need to hear that God can help them or make a way it's very personal to me. I've had a whole bunch of struggles. I've had deaths in the family. I've had all kinds of things happen to me, loss of a job, and all kinds of things. And my source of my strength has been God, and that's how I've been able to get through things, is to be able to pray or to be able to think of God's goodness, and I try to work through things that way. And it really does work. It helps you think more positive even when things aren't that great.
This struggle ain't getting me down. That's why I'm still around. The strife in life ain't taking my life, and I'm not quitting till I'm underground. That's when I won't make a sound. That's when I won't be around. Until then, I'ma stand my ground. I'ma make some sounds. I'ma get these pounds. I ain't talking about cake. I'm talking about getting this bread. The bread of life changed my life. Now I know I'll have eternal life.
Well, this is the recording of Day to Day. We're behind the scenes, and I was at the studio in Temple Hills, ITC TV, and I was just doing the song, the performance part of the song, and you'll see that in the video. The day-to-day struggle. We can make it. We can make it. Monique, Lynelle at the studio, trying to do my thing, do my thing, do it, do my thing, do my thing, do it. I'm gonna try it that way. In silence, this one. In the midst of the storm. What you mean, shush? I'm recording. What the heck? I'm recording. The lady shushing me. To have to rebuke whatever's coming against the spirit of being blessed in this place. Cause you gonna get out of my way. I rebuke that messed up spirit in the name of Christ Jesus. You gonna get up out of here. Technical difficulties, the tech with the attitude, the other person trying to shush me while I'm singing. That's what you get when you use other people's places and stuff. Hey y'all, I'm still recording for this song, and I'm trying to make layers. Some of the stuff has disappeared, or I can't hear it, so from the last session, and it's all kind of stuff going on up in here. The security guard talking about some water. Somebody else came through trying to be rude, and another person tried to barge in. I'm like, you know, the devil is a liar. He don't want you to get any kind of blessings. He don't want you to do anything for the Lord. And other people might not realize that's what's going on, but I do. And I see it for what it is. I'm not trying to make up nothing, but the other guy even saw that the girl, she was like going in on me. I just met her. I'm a nice person. I'm just coming here. She's just a tech, supposed to be turning on the computer and helping people where they need to be helped. But, you know, I guess some people want to make things hard for somebody so that they won't want to continue to be able to do it. But what God has for me is for me. And I'm going to say it to y'all. When you have something going on in your life and you want it to come through, you can't just stop because somebody wants to be contrary or adversarial or whatever. I'm not going to let people stop me from doing what I need to do. You might have an assignment to try to thwart what I'm doing. But God's going to get the glory at the end of the day anyway, because I'm going to still be blessed in the midst of whatever the crap is. And that's what the song is saying. In the midst of the storm, I'm still blessed. And people think I'm going to stop. I'm not a punk. You know, I'm talking about spiritually. I'm talking about physically and mentally. When somebody wants to come against you for the stuff that you're doing, and it's not secular, and it's not for the devil, and it's not contrary to God, and somebody's still trying to come against you, then you know it's principalities and spirits of wickedness in high places that don't want you to achieve your goals, that are speaking something positive in the airways and in the air. And I'm not gonna stop just because somebody wants me to, you know. And I'm recording this, and I usually don't do this and all of that, but you know, the devil is a liar. But God is great, and He keeps blessing me. He keeps providing for me, and I think that wicked and evil spirits get mad when God provides something for you, and you're allowed to go ahead and do it, and it's not a certain dollar amount or price set on it, but God has allowed you to get that opportunity. Other people want to hate on you and stop your opportunities from going through, but that ain't about nothing. So all these distractions and stuff y'all didn't get to see, but it's happening. It's real. It's always stuff going on, and when you're trying to encourage other people's hearts when they going through trials and tribulations and having messed up situations in their life, and you have a purpose and a plan in your life that God has for you, people want to get in the way. They don't even know why they trying to get in the way. They just do it.
Jealousy, envy, covetous, you're in the way. Get out my way. Get out my way. Get out my way. Get out my way. Why you wanna hex me just to vex me? Child, please. Now you wanna see what I'm doing just to ruin what's next. Look at all the bull crap I've been through. God's the one who saw me through. You tryna back me in the corner, but I'm gonna put that 1-2 on the voodoo. Cause I'm a fighter, you can say whatever, I'ma do it my way. Ain't worried about your way, and it's okay. You think I'm playing, but I ain't delaying. We can stand toe to toe all day. Delay don't mean denial, cause I am here now. Don't have no fear now, and it's okay. I'm only serious, Greed, pride, gossiping, yeah, it's in the way, 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 it's in the way. What? Greed, pride, gossiping, yeah, it's in the way, it's in the way. Get out my way, get out my way, get out the way, get out the way, get out my way.
Hey, it's Monique Lynelle again in the studio. Just about to wrap things up, and I did all of the verses for the chorus. So all the chorus verses I was getting together for I'm Still Blessed. And it'll be coming at you soon. So we have another day to come back at the studio, and so I can lay down the verses to the song. So I'll see you next time. Monique Lynelle in the studio. In the midst of the storm, I'm still blessed, blessed, blessed. And I hope that people will take a listen to some of my songs and see the growth from when I first started writing to some of them that will be out soon, and just take a look and listen to how diverse some of the music is, and that's how God has made me. I'm going to continue writing songs, and I'm working on another project now, and I've had two projects, two like one album and one EP, and I'm working on more music now. And then I have 3 books. As I told you, both my mother and my father passed, and that was within a 3-year span. And my child passed in between that time. So that was 2008, 2009, and then 2011. But that wasn't the only things that I was dealing with. Another thing that happened was while I was going through that, not being able to work and go to school, and I got sick, I lost some weight, and I started to talk to a recruiter. And me and my parents weren't at the best, we weren't in the best of relationships at the time because so much was going on, it just seemed strained. And I was staying with them after my divorce and while I was going to school. So, you know, it was made difficult for me, and I ended up being put out. And I was trying to talk to a reserve recruiter, being that I had a place to stay already. And then I was put in a position where I didn't know what I was going to do. And I had started doing exotic dancing. And I'm not sure if my parents knew I was doing it, but I did. And I didn't do it for long. What I had to do was, since I was talking to a recruiter already, I decided, well, instead of doing this, I was going to go back into the military, but go active duty. And I was taking the money that I was getting from dancing that short period of time, and I stayed in hotels, and it wasn't really long at all, but I stayed with my sister, and then I was going to different guys' house that I knew, and just trying to stay long enough, like, to not be outside in the street. But I was technically homeless, and I would stay in the car sometimes that I had, and then something happened to my car. It was just like so much was happening at that time. And so, I mean, it was messed up because I felt like I needed my parents the most, but me and my mom were going at it, and I just couldn't be there any longer. And I thank God that I was, that I did lose weight, and, I was never like really, really big, but I got small enough that the height and weight and stuff like that wasn't an issue at all. They weren't like, you need to lose 50 pounds to get back in. It wasn't like that. And I was able to just sign back up and then go back in. And that saved me from being homeless. That saved me from being an exotic dancer, and from living in my car or being out on the street. And I thank God for allowing that to be a choice at that time, because it could have went way worse because of my conviction that was deep down, because I was already saved, but I had pushed God away, especially after my divorce. But even while I was married, some of that time, I pushed God away because of the experience I had when I was younger with my dad taking that interim pastorate, and me seeing how people were in church and in that particular church. And I just was like, I didn't want anything to do with church. I didn't want anything to do with God. And it really was never God's fault. One of the things that I know God he kept me from dying more than once. Uh, but this one time, it was around when I was just getting my divorce, 2004. I had a car accident, and I was driving my dad's car, I think, um, and I was going through finals, and I went to a restaurant, and I had, I I took some like Benadryl or something, and because my allergies were kicking up, and anybody who has taken Benadryl knows that it makes you drowsy, but me sitting there, being so stressed out during the divorce and during finals, and it just was like I felt like the world was crashing in on me, and so I just went out and got something to eat or whatever, and then I called myself getting a drink or whatever, but I had already taken the medicine, and so when I was driving on my way home, I fell asleep at the wheel, and the car literally turned and hit the median in the middle of the road. And by it doing that, I spent like 3 or 4 times, and then I hit something else and flipped like 7 times over into a whole nother side of the like off the road. And it was just horrible. But I didn't have a scratch on me. The car was totaled, and all I had was like a bruised shoulder. And when I looked at the car later on, like where I was, it indented so much that like my whole side should be crushed right now. But there was a big, like a 18-wheeler truck. The guy got out of the truck, and he ran over to me, and he was like, "Are you all right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm okay." And then I looked up in my soda. I had a juice or something soda. It had spilled over everything. That's all I remember because I was totally knocked out. When I came to, it was juice everywhere, and the car was all the way off of the road, and I was like, "Oh my God." When I looked at it later, where it was, I saw bent parts of the median, and I was like all the way on the other side. I'm so glad there was no other cars there. The 18-wheeler stopped after me. He saw everything. And I was able to drive home. He was like, "Are you okay? Do you want me to call somebody?" All this stuff. I was like, "I'm all right." My shoulder could hardly move. And I drove all the way home. And when I got home, I didn't realize how jacked up the car was. But it was total. And I know God saved my life because He has a purpose and a plan for me. And I didn't realize it then, but I just know that He kept me. And I could have died that day. And I didn't. I'm still here. And God allowed it for a reason. And He's real. And, I'm so thankful now that I'm able to sit here and talk about it and be okay. Because over and over again, time and time again, things have happened to me, and some people are dead that the same things happen to them that happened to me, but He allowed me to just get up and walk away. and I'm still here. So that's a blessing. And if God had not intervened or had his hand in my life, I'm not sure that I would have ever made it. But some people might look at my life like, dang, all that messed up stuff happened to you, or why would you thank God for anything? Look at all of this messed up stuff that has happened to you. Why aren't you upset with him? But that's immature thinking, because initially I pushed him away, but he waited for me to get things together. He waited for me to accept who he was, and he waited for me to say that I love him. And now I'm not ashamed to say that I love the Lord, my God, and he's the best thing that ever happened to me. And I would encourage anybody to take a chance on God, no matter what you've been through. I've done some modeling, even after I gave birth and gained all this weight and didn't lose it because I got depressed. And God can still let me shine, and I don't have to be a size 4 anymore, because I was a size 4. And like a 5'6", whatever. But child, I gained some weight and became a plus model.
I wanna love you the way you love me, with unconditional love, intentionally for eternity, with unconditional love. I wanna love you the way you love me, with unconditional love, intentionally for eternity, with unconditional love.
I started going, I was in a big beautiful women's pageant. I was in a Hype Fair magazine show 2 years in a row, and there were so many beautiful women, and they still looked at me like, you still got it going on, girl. So I was like, okay, bless God, because who knew? I gained weight and got into some bottling. I didn't even know that was going to happen, but I took a chance to say, I am who I am, at whatever size I am, and and I can still be confident, and I can still do what I need to do, even though I want to be my best, and I probably could, shed some pounds because I don't want my blood pressure to be too high, but at the same time, I can be confident, and I can walk a runway like I'm 110 pounds, with some 4 or 5 inch heels, and kill it. That's all because God allows me to. Hey, I'm backstage at the big, beautiful women's pageant. It's so exciting. We're in the evening gowns, and we're about to go out after the deliberation of the judges. So we've done all of our sections, the talent competition, the intro, we've done the evening competition, the lingerie, and it's 9 of us. So We have to see who's going to win in this really steep competition. These are beautiful, big women, and I'm just loving it. I'm backstage. I'm excited. I don't know what's going to happen, but stay tuned. God loves us enough for us to be here in this world that He created, and we should respect the fact that He did that for us. And we might not all have the same views, and we might not all get along, but if we start to look at why did God create us and find our pieces to the puzzle, because if we're all one piece and it's this big puzzle, then if everyone plays their part as their puzzle piece, then we can make a picture together. We can all make a puzzle be complete, because what God has for me is for me. What God has for you is for you. So if I'm trying to get what you're supposed to have, then something's going to be missing over here, because I'm supposed to be doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So if we're supposed to be doing something together, that's still not me playing your part. That's me playing my part in this togetherness. So I am a piece of a puzzle, and I need to connect with the pieces that go next to me. That's what other people are. And you find your right connections, because every piece doesn't fit together, and it wasn't meant to be. But you find the piece that you're supposed to be next to, in front of, behind. That's your inner circle, the people that you trust, the people that are going in the same direction as you. That they're going towards God's will, not their own. And then our puzzle starts to fit, and it starts to make sense. And that's what being in God's will is all about. God's will for your life, finding your purpose in this life. God gave it to you. So what are you going to do with it? I'm here to live until I die. And now I've gotten my production certificate and my editing and videography certificate. And I've written my first script. It's complete. And I have a show that I've worked on, and I've done some interviews, and I'm looking to do more interviews and hopefully have it on some public access television stations, and whoever, if someone else wants to pick it up, that would be great. I would be ecstatic, like, woo! But yeah, I'm trying to go in a positive direction with the interviews. I want to highlight people, individuals, organizations, businesses, and artists and authors that are doing things in the community to help promote good health and have positive words of wisdom, or faith-based artists, whether it be rap or singing, inspirational stories. Since, you know, I have so many stories of my own. I would love to continue to write scripted movies and series or television series. Divine Discipleship for Sisters. This group of ladies is a wonderful testament to godly women seeking to serve and to find a closer walk with Christ. And I'm proud to be a part of it.
I wanna love you the way you love me, with unconditional love.
Had a late client, and her hair looked gorgeous, phenomenal, luscious and luxurious. Yes. And then blah, 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 I went out to a place called Playdate. Absolutely great. I thought it was so cool. It was a bunch of adults that got together and played old school games and just had fun, clean fun. And there was also dancing and music. But for the most part, there was playing of games, Connect Four, Jenga, sinking the battleship. They had checkers, chess, hula hoops, jacks, Uno, spades, all those games. It was just so cool. It was cool. So I'm glad I went. I just felt like getting on the video chat and talking with you all and saying hi. You know, I hope your holidays are great and grand. Don't eat too much. Just, have fun. And, I don't know, tell somebody you love them that you really do love. Because you never know. Tomorrow's not promised, so be positive while you have a chance. Have you ever wondered where you could find great quality, unprocessed Remy hair? I started a jewelry business before, and it was online, so it went out of business because the head company decided to go out of business. And then I had hair extension business online, and that parent company decided to go out of business also. They decided to go out of business. So me as an independent contractor, I was in a position where I started something, but as soon as I wanted to move forward with it, I couldn't. And it really wasn't my decision. But that's not going to stop me. I'm going to have other businesses, and I hope that people rally around me and help support what I'm going to do. And it's only a matter of time. So be looking out for something from me, whether it be cosmetics or hair or jewelry. Those are things that I'm interested in already. So you'll probably see that from me in the future. And I just see my future as being bright and doing more producing, and I would like some more experience in directing. Well, hopefully I can do other documentaries and allow me to help them tell their stories. That would be awesome. If there was one thing I wanted someone to take from listening to my story or about my life, is that I'm not a quitter. Just because you encounter adversity doesn't mean you have to quit. Reach for your highest potential, because everybody is not called to do or be the same thing. And appreciate the differences in this life. Acknowledge Him, and to know that He is God. He has provided so much for me. I mean, living in this house, both of my parents have died and they passed away, and it hurt me so bad. And I wasn't living here for some years because I went to the military for 3 years, and then when I went to Temple, I was in Pennsylvania, and I lived there. I stayed there for 4 years. And in that time, both my mom and father passed, and then we were able, me and my sister, moved back into their old home, because at the time that my mom passed, the house was in and out of foreclosure, and they were switching banks and doing all kinds of stuff, and then it went off of foreclosure, and I ran out of my GI Bill money, and I was going to look for a job, and I was trying to get into a master's program. I was able to move back into my parents' old home right here in Bowie, Maryland, and it's a 5-bedroom house, and my mom used to do daycare out of it. Because of all of this paperwork and everything else that has gone the way that it's gone, me and my sister and her daughter have been able to stay here, and it's been almost 4 years for me, and she moved back maybe 6 months before me, and we've been paying the bills and sustaining ourselves, but really God has made a way for us, because neither one of us could afford the mortgage the way in which it was, and it's really been a miracle. I mean, during our rough times, during our grieving times, during our, our getting jobs and starting and stopping schools, and if it wasn't for the Lord, I don't know where I would be or what I would be doing, but He has made a way for me, and I'm telling you right now, where the house is up for sale now. I mean, not unless another miracle happens and we get enough money or someone else buys it, unless it's just have the home or something, because the amount that it ballooned up to for the mortgage that my parents have, me and my sister are the representatives of the estate, so we would still have to assume the mortgage as it is, whereas someone else could come along and buy the house for thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars less than we would have to take it on as. And neither one of us are willing to take on that ballooned amount of debt only to not be able to afford it at the end of the day. So I'm just thankful to God that He has made a way out of no way, and His currency is not our currency, and that He has provided for me. And I love Him so much, because outside looking in, some people still might be envious of me and not know the half. They might be jealous of a situation. They might think all kinds of things. But at the end of the day, I know my God is real. I know Christ is real. I know the Holy Spirit dwells with me now. And had I not gone through some of the things that I've gone through, I might not appreciate Him so much more now. And I really, really do. And I don't know what's going to happen with this house situation, but moving forward, you know, no one can take the miracle away. You can't take it away because it already happened. So whether, we have the house sold this year, or someone else comes and buys it and says you all can rent it from us, or whatever happens, I'm putting it all in God's hands, and I'm just thankful for the time that I was able to have. And there's nobody like the Lord. And I'm a semifinalist for the Miss Veteran America competition, and an organization that helps at-risk or homeless female veterans. It's called Final Salute. To promote that more and move forward with that, and at the end of the day, help some women and families that need it, just like I needed help, and I need help now, and I need support. Other people do in life too, and I think people just need to have a better understanding of what other people go through, and then you'll be able to empathize with people. You'll be able to say, what would I want if I was in this predicament or this situation? And I know that God has allowed me to go through so much, so that it's so much easier for me to empathize with somebody else's situation. That somebody doesn't have to have a long, drawn out story for me to understand how somebody could get in this position and not be a lazy, foolish person. But there's sometimes you're a hardworking individual and things happen to you in life and you can't control what it is that happened. But you have to keep going. And that's what I'm trying to do. So I know by looking at me and my situation, somebody else might be able to say to themselves that I can do it. And although my faith is what it is, and I believe that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, and I know that the Lord loves me. I just thank God that I'm moving forward. I'm pushing forward. None of it can be done without God. He is my center. He is the most important thing to my life. And I couldn't do it or make it here without Him. And I'm so appreciative that He's given me a chance to make a difference in this world and in this life. And He's not done with me yet. And I know I have been a work in progress, but I know with the Holy Spirit, with Christ Jesus, with the Father God, with my Lord, I can do anything, and I don't have to have a limitation put on it. And that's how I'm living my life, with no limits. No limits. I'm not putting limitations on where God can take me, because He is an eternal God. He is infinite. He is all wise. He is all knowing. And He loves me. So that means He can take me anywhere He wants me to go. And I'm trusting that He has my best interest at heart. And here I am, Monique Lynelle, and this is Monique Lynelle's journey. The Holy Spirit in the building, y'all. Monique Lynelle, y'all. I'm about to do this for Jesus, y'all. Get lifted up, 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 lift Jesus up. The truth is the devil ain't give me nothing. The word of God always gives me something. I know the world really don't love me. I keep making it cause God loves me. I ain't sell my soul just cause I was sold. Cause I have faith, don't take no mess. Trying to get blessed and be refreshed. And lift Jesus up. Get lifted up, 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 lift Jesus up. I can't waste time, still on my grind, not living bitter, not living blind. My parents just raised me right, but as a PK, I got a whole nother fight. Demons trying to get me, witches trying to vex me, liars talking about me, haters throwing shade. The devil is a liar, God is the truth. I'm full of fire cause of God's power. I ain't giving up on my creator and turning it to Darth Vader. I have too many things to do. I have too many gifts to use. God will never leave me, nor will he forsake me. Jesus saved my soul, then he made me whole, gave me a purpose. I'm here for a reason. Now get lifted up. Get lifted up, 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 get lifted up. Get your hands up and get lifted up. Get your hands up and get lifted up. Get your hands up and get lifted up. Lift Jesus up. Lift Jesus up. Lift Jesus up. Give God glory. Put your hands up. Give God praise. Put your hands up. Give God glory. Put your hands up. Give God praise. Put your hands up. Lift Jesus up. Get lifted up, 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 lift Jesus up. Lift Jesus up. Lift Jesus up. Put your hands in the air for Jesus one time, y'all. Get lifted up. Monique Lynelle.
Dynamic Destiny Enterprises and Productions.